You didn't report no-shows, you created them.
I was protecting my son!
Contempt. Custody transfers today at 4 o'clock.
The judge's voice didn't echo, it sliced. Not loud, just clean and unavoidable, the way truth sounds when it finally has a microphone. In this court, Judge Evelyn Marks said, eyes fixed on the witness table, parenting time is not a favor, it is a court order. Darnell Carter stood behind his attorney, with both hands wrapped around the back of his chair, knuckles pale. He'd been standing in this same courtroom for almost 40 minutes, listening to his name being used like a punchline. Deadbeat, no show, absent father, 2 years, 24 missed weekends, 6 missed holidays, 4 birthdays, and every time the other side said it, the room seemed to accept it like it was gravity. Across the aisle, Melissa Carter dabbed under her eyes with a tissue, shoulders slightly hunched, voice trembling in just the right places. He just doesn't come, she told the court. Isaiah waits by the window and he doesn't come. The judge had frowned, sympathetic. Until Darnell's attorney asked for permission to play a short clip from a police body camera. The screen at the front of the courtroom came to life. The audio crackled, a cold night wind, a porch light, a man's steady voice. "Officer, I'm here for my court-ordered exchange," Darnell said on the video. "It's 6:02. I've been waiting. I'm not trying to cause a scene. I just want my son." Then the camera turned toward the front door. No one answered. A voice, Melissa's voice, came from behind the door, sharp and distant. "He's not getting him. He didn't confirm." The officer's tone was calm. "Ma'am, do you have the child?" Silence. Then, "I'm not opening the door." The judge watched the clip without blinking. Darnell felt his throat tighten as the next exhibit appeared on screen. Time-stamped messages, cancellations, blocked calls, a co-parenting app log showing he'd been there. Again, and again, and again. Judge Marks set her pen down. The tiny click of metal on wood sounded louder than the gavel. She looked directly at Melissa. "Ms. Carter," she said, voice now flat, "you have been telling this court that Mr. Carter chose not to parent." Melissa's mouth opened. No sound. Judge Marks continued, slower, sharper. "The evidence shows something else." The courtroom held its breath. "The evidence shows you prevented contact, you changed locations without notice, you refused exchanges, and you created a false record of no-shows to support a narrative." Melissa's attorney shifted, already standing, ready to argue. The judge raised a hand. "No," she said. "Sit down." Then she turned to Darnell. "Mr. Carter," she said, "I'm granting your motion. I'm finding Ms. Carter in contempt of court." A ripple moved through the gallery, shock with skin on it. Judge Marks didn't pause. "Effective immediately," she said. "Mr. Carter will have temporary primary physical custody pending the expedited custody review." Melissa's face drained of color. "And Ms. Carter," Judge Marks added, "will surrender the child today at 4 p.m. at the Supervised Exchange Center. Failure to comply will result in immediate sanctions, including incarceration." The gavel cracked once, final, instant. Darnell's knees almost buckled, not because he was weak, but because for 2 years he'd been carrying a lie so heavy it had started to rewrite his own memory. 2 years of being told he didn't show up. 2 years of being treated like absence was his personality. 2 years of watching his son grow up through a wall. And now, in a room that had assumed the worst about him without saying it out loud, the truth arrived all at once. Not as an apology, as contempt. If you're wondering how a father misses visits for 2 years and still wins in court, you have to go back to the first missed weekend, because it wasn't missed, it was blocked. Darnell Carter wasn't the kind of dad who needed credit for doing normal things. He packed lunches, He knew which dinosaur Isaiah liked best. He kept a small plastic toolbox in his trunk because Isaiah loved helping him fix things. Darnell worked as a maintenance supervisor for a large apartment complex. Steady work, early mornings, long days, call-outs at night when pipes burst and tenants panicked. He wasn't rich, he wasn't careless, he was consistent. Melissa and Darnell met in their early 20s, fell into love like people do when life still feels wide open, and built something that looked simple from the outside. An apartment, then a house, then a baby with a loud cry and tiny fists. Isaiah. For a while they were a team. Then stress started to pick at them. Melissa wanted stability that felt like certainty, predictable schedules, predictable money, predictable everything. Darnell's job didn't offer predictable. It offered responsibility, and responsibility can feel like absence when you're tired enough. They fought about time. They fought about money. They fought about Darnell's quiet way of processing and Melissa's loud way of demanding answers. When Isaiah was 4, Melissa filed for divorce. It wasn't dramatic. It was efficient. A packet of paperwork on the kitchen counter and a voice that didn't shake when she said, "I can't do this anymore." Darnell asked for shared custody, 50-50, not because he wanted to win, because Isaiah was his life, in a way Darnell didn't know how to explain, without sounding desperate. Melissa didn't fight shared custodies at first. She agreed to a standard schedule, alternating weekends, one weekday dinner visit, split holidays. The judge signed it. The ink dried. And in Darnell's mind, the hardest part was over. He didn't understand that custody orders are only as strong as the adults forced to follow them. The first missed exchange happened on a Friday in October. The air had that early fall bite. The sun dipped fast. The neighborhood streetlights came on with a soft buzz. Darnell pulled up to Melissa's house at 6 p.m., exactly like the order said. He parked, texted, "Here." No response. He waited 5 minutes, then 10. At 6:14, he knocked. No answer. He called, straight to voicemail. Darnell stood on the porch and felt that familiar discomfort, the feeling of being visible and powerless at the same time. He texted again. "Please bring Isaiah out." Finally, at 6:26, Melissa texted back. "Isaiah is sick, not going." Darnell blinked at the screen. "Sick how?" he typed. No response. Darnell drove home with the car seat empty and a small bag of Isaiah's pajamas still on the passenger seat. He told himself it was one time. Kids get sick, things happen. He didn't want to be the dad who makes things hard. So he let it go. The next weekend, Isaiah was at a birthday party. The weekend after that, Melissa didn't answer at all. Then came the first time Melissa used a sentence that sounded harmless but felt like a trap. "You didn't confirm," she texted. Darnell stared at the message. Confirm? The order didn't require confirmation. It required obedience. "I'm confirming now," he typed. "I'll be there at 6. Melissa replied, "Too late. We made other plans." That's when Darnell felt it. The shift. Not a scheduling issue, a power move. Over the next months, the pattern formed. If Darnell arrived at 6 o'clock, Melissa would text at 6:07. "Where are you?" He was literally outside. If he responded immediately, she'd reply, "Stop harassing me." If he called, she wouldn't pick up. If he knocked, she'd claim he was showing up aggressively. If he stayed, she'd threaten to call the police. Darnell started taking screenshots of everything, not because he wanted a case, but because he felt reality becoming slippery. And the cruelest part? Melissa always had just enough plausible deniability to make Darnell sound unreasonable. "I told him Isaiah was sick. He never confirmed. He showed up late. He scared me." To an outsider, it sounded like co-parenting chaos. To Darnell, it felt like a door being shut in his face over and over again, and being told it was his fault for knocking. Then the blocking escalated. Melissa changed her phone number without telling him. The co-parenting app they had agreed to use, because judges love anything that creates a record, suddenly showed message undeliverable. Darnell emailed her. No response. He contacted her attorney through his own. Her attorney replied with one sentence. Ms. Carter reports you have not exercised parenting time consistently. Darnell read it twice. Not exercised, as if he'd simply chosen absence, like a hobby. He felt the familiar weight of a stereotype settling onto his shoulders, heavy and silent. Because in family court, the narrative of an absent father is already waiting like a pre-written script, and sometimes all it needs is a few missed dates to become believable. Darnell didn't want to believe Melissa would do that, but he couldn't ignore what was happening, so he did what people tell fathers to do. He tried to go through the system. Darnell filed a motion to enforce. He didn't have money for a high-powered lawyer, so he used a local family law clinic and a lot of late nights reading court forms after Isaiah's bedtime. Except Isaiah wasn't there anymore, so it was just silence and paperwork. The court set a hearing date, 3 months out, 3 months. In the meantime, Darnell kept showing up. Every other Friday, every Wednesday dinner visit, every holiday slot. He came with snacks and small toys and a duffel bag with Isaiah's, clothes folded tight like hope, and Melissa kept blocking. Sometimes she wouldn't answer. Sometimes she'd claim Isaiah was too upset. Sometimes she'd say, he doesn't want to go. That one cut deeper than the rest, because if a child begins to believe a parent doesn't show up, eventually the child stops expecting them, and then the lie becomes a self-fulfilling wound. Darnell started leaving with his phone camera, recording the time on his dashboard clock as he sat outside her house. He started taking photos of the address with his car in the frame. He started saving gas receipts to prove he was there. He started building a case without realizing he was building a coffin for the story everyone else believed. At the first enforcement hearing, Melissa arrived with a thick folder and a calm face. She told the judge Darnell was inconsistent. She told the judge Isaiah cried when Darnell came. She told the judge she didn't feel safe, with exchanges at her home. Darnell tried to speak. The judge cut him off gently. Mr. Carter, the judge said, you need to work on communication and consistency. Darnell felt heat climb his neck. I've been there, he said. I have messages. Melissa's attorney leaned forward. Your Honor, he said, we have records of no-shows. No-shows. That word hit like a stamp. The judge ordered a modification. Exchanges would now happen at a public place, police station parking lot, neutral ground. Darnell nodded, grateful for anything that might stop the door from being used as a weapon. He thought finally, the system is seeing this. He didn't understand. Melissa could weaponize neutral ground too. The police station exchanges lasted 2 weeks. The first Friday, Darnell arrived early. He parked under the bright lights, hands shaking with anticipation. He texted Melissa through the app. No response. At 6:02, he saw Melissa's car pull into the lot. Relief flooded him. Then he saw her turn and drive right back out. Darnell froze. His phone buzzed. A message from Melissa. Isaiah isn't coming. He's scared. Stop forcing this. Darnell stared at the screen, heart pounding. He looked at the empty back seat of her car disappearing down the street. He called the non-emergency number for an officer to document. A patrol car arrived. The officer listened politely, wrote a note, and said, It's a civil matter. Civil matter. That phrase is a wall fathers slam into over and over, because the police can document, but they can't force a child handoff in a parking lot, not without a court's direct instruction. So Darnell did the only thing he could do. He kept showing up. He kept documenting. He kept losing. Months turned into a year, then more, and the story outside Darnell's body began to solidify. Co-workers stopped asking about Isaiah. Family members started saying, "Maybe you should just let it go." Even well-meaning people tried to comfort him with poison. "At least you're saving money on child stuff." Darnell paid child support faithfully. Auto-drafted, on time, because he knew that's the first thing people check when they want to judge a father. He never missed a payment, but he missed Isaiah, and missing Isaiah felt like missing oxygen. On Isaiah's 6th birthday, Darnell drove past Melissa's neighborhood and sat 2 streets away, holding a small gift bag on his lap like it was a fragile thing. He didn't go to the door, he wasn't allowed. He stared at the bag, blue tissue paper, a small Lego set, and felt something inside him crack. He wasn't just being blocked, he was being erased. The major twist didn't come from Melissa, it came from Isaiah. One afternoon, a year and a half into the blockage, Darnell received an email from a school address he didn't recognize. Subject: Isaiah Carter. Attendance/contact update. Darnell's hands shook as he opened it. It was from a school counselor named Ms. Rowe. The message was simple, professional, cautious. "Mr. Carter, Isaiah listed you as an emergency contact in his classroom activity today. We wanted to confirm your information." Darnell stared at the screen. Isaiah listed him. Not Melissa. Isaiah. A 6-year-old boy had written his dad's name when asked who he trusted. Darnell's throat tightened. He responded immediately, carefully. "Yes, I'm his father. I haven't been able to see him due to ongoing custody interference. I would like to be involved in school communication." Ms. Rowe replied within the hour. "I'm sorry to hear that. Our records show you have requested access before. We have also received instructions from Ms. Carter to route communication only through her. Please provide your custody order if possible." Darnell's heart slammed. Requested access before, meaning Darnell had been trying to reach the school, meaning Melissa had been intercepting that too. Darnell forwarded the custody order. Ms. Rowe responded with a line that became the beginning of the end for Melissa's narrative. "Thank you. We will update our records. Also, I want to note that Isaiah has expressed confusion about why you don't come. He said he saw you waiting once." Darnell's breathing stopped for a second. Isaiah saw him waiting, meaning the child knew his father was showing up, meaning Melissa had been telling Isaiah a story, while the child could see the truth through the window. Darnell sat back, stunned, because up until that moment, the war had been between adults. Now he could see the real battlefield. Isaiah's mind, Isaiah's belief about who loved him. Darnell called his attorney that same night, not angry, focused. "I have school emails," he said. "They say she told them to route everything through her. They say Isaiah saw me waiting." His attorney, Lila Crane, different Lila than before, the clinic lawyer who had been helping him on and off, went quiet. Then she said, "That's gold." Darnell swallowed. "Is it enough?" Lila's voice sharpened. "It's corroboration," she said. "Third-party records, neutral professionals, timestamps, and if we combine it with your documentation, we can build an airtight pattern. Pattern, that word matters in court, because one missed exchange can be an accident, 2 can be miscommunication, 10 becomes suspicious, 2 years becomes intent." They filed a contempt motion, again, this time with an evidentiary binder so thick it looked like a phone book, screenshots of undelivered app messages, logs of Melissa changing phone numbers, GPS location history, showing Darnell arriving at exchange sites on time, gas receipts tied to dates, police incident report numbers documenting civil standby requests, and then the school emails, the most damning kind of evidence, not emotional, not interpretive, administrative, the kind courts trust because it wasn't created for court. It was created for a child. Melissa responded with the same story she'd used from the beginning. He doesn't come. He's inconsistent. He scares us. And here's the nightmare part. Without evidence, that story would have won again. Because it fits a stereotype the system is already primed to accept. A father says he tried. A mother says he didn't. The child is quiet. The court chooses stability, and stability often means the parent who already has the child. But Darnell had something different this time. He had proof of obstruction, and the court can forgive messy co-parenting, but it does not forgive a parent weaponizing the child, not when the weapon is documented. The contempt hearing was scheduled for a Monday morning. Darnell barely slept the night before. He ironed his shirt twice. He shaved carefully. He sat at his kitchen table at 3 a.m., staring at the binder like it was a life raft. In court, Melissa arrived wearing a soft sweater and a face that looked wounded. Her attorney spoke first. "Your Honor, Mr. Carter is attempting to rewrite history because he's embarrassed by his own absence. My client has done her best. The child needs stability." Stability. That word again. Melissa sniffed softly. "I never stopped him," she told the judge. "He just doesn't come." Judge Marks listened without expression, taking notes. Then Darnell's attorney stood. "Your Honor," she said, "we're going to show the court that Mr. Carter has been consistently present and Mrs. Carter has been consistently obstructive." Melissa's attorney scoffed. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Proceed," she said. The first exhibits were simple, app logs showing Darnell's messages. "Here. On my way. Arrived. No replies. Then timestamps showing Melissa's last-minute cancellations. Not coming. Changed plans. Isaiah is upset. Then Darnell's GPS, showing he was at the exchange location. Then the police civil standby documentation. Then the school emails. When the judge read the counselor's line, "Isaiah is scared to lie. Isaiah saw you waiting," the courtroom shifted. Not towards sympathy, towards suspicion, because now the case wasn't about Darnell's reliability, it was about Melissa's control. Then came the Bodycam clip, the one where Darnell stood on the porch, calm, pleading for his son, and Melissa refused to open the door. The judge watched it twice. She didn't need to, but she did, because sometimes a judge needs to feel the pattern in her bones before she makes a decision that will change a child's life. When the clip ended, Judge Marks looked at Melissa with a stillness that felt like ice. "Ms. Carter," she said, "you testified under oath that Mr. Carter did not show." Melissa opened her mouth. The judge held up a hand. "You lied," she said. Not loudly, not dramatically, just as a fact. Melissa's face broke for a second, anger flashing through fear. "I was protecting my son," she snapped. Judge Marks's eyes narrowed. "No," she said. "You were controlling your son." Silence. Then the judge said the word that makes adults sit up straight in family court. "Contempt." Melissa's attorney sprang up. "Your Honor, this is—" "No," Judge Marks said again. "Sit down." And then she did the thing nobody in the room expected. She flipped custody, not as punishment, as protection, because parental alienation, when documented, can be treated as a form of harm. Not bruises, but psychological harm, the slow poisoning of a child's relationship with a parent. Judge Marks turned to Melissa. "You will surrender Isaiah today at 4 p.m. to the Supervised Exchange Center," she said. "If you fail, I will issue a writ. If you resist, I will order confinement." Melissa's face went white. Then Judge Marks looked at Darnell. "Mr. Carter," she said, "I want to be clear. This court should not have needed 2 years and a mountain of evidence to see what was happening, but we see it now." Darnell's throat tightened. "And Ms. Carter," the judge continued, You will pay Mr. Carter's attorney fees. You will participate in co-parenting counseling. You will have supervised visitation only until this court is satisfied you will not interfere. Then she said the line that hit the room hardest. You do not get to steal a child from a parent and call it protection. The gavel cracked, and Darnell's world changed again, this time in the right direction. At 3:57 p.m., Darnell stood at the Supervised Exchange Center, heart pounding. The building was bland, beige walls, fluorescent hum, security cameras, a receptionist behind glass, a place designed to remove drama. Darnell's hands shook anyway. He kept looking at the door. At 4:04, Melissa walked in, holding Isaiah's hand. Isaiah was smaller than Darnell remembered, not because he'd shrunk, because Darnell had missed so much growing. Isaiah's eyes darted around the room like he was scanning for danger. Then he saw Darnell, and for a second, Isaiah froze, face tight with confusion, because children can hold two stories at once, the story they've been told and the story their body remembers. Darnell crouched down slowly. "Hey, Zay," he whispered. Isaiah's lip trembled. You came," Isaiah said, voice small. Darnell's chest cracked. "I've been coming," he said softly. "Every time." Isaiah blinked hard, then the tears arrived all at once. He ran forward and wrapped his arms around Darnell's neck, clinging like he was afraid Darnell might disappear if he loosened. His grip. Darnell held him tight, eyes burning. "I'm here," he whispered into Isaiah's hair. "I'm here, I'm here." The supervisor watched quietly, pen poised. Melissa stood off to the side, face rigid, eyes wet in a way that didn't look like tenderness. Isaiah pulled back slightly and looked at Darnell. "Mom said you didn't want me," he whispered. Darnell felt pain slice through him. He kept his voice calm, gentle, steady. "That's not true," he said. "I've always wanted you. Always." Isaiah stared at him, trying to reconcile reality. Then he whispered, "I saw you outside once." Darnell's throat tightened. "I know," he said softly. "I saw you too." And in that moment, Darnell understood the most heartbreaking part of the whole case. Isaiah had been witnessing the battle all along, not in court documents, in shadows behind windows, in muffled arguments, in adults shaping his reality like clay. The next months were about repair, not triumphant, not easy. Isaiah had routines with Melissa that Darnell didn't want to destroy, even though he was furious at her. Isaiah had learned habits shaped by stress, sleep issues, sudden clinginess, anxiety around transitions. Darnell enrolled Isaiah in therapy with a child specialist who understood parental interference. The therapist explained something Darnell didn't need a degree to feel. "When a child is used to block a parent," she said, "the child learns that love has conditions, that affection can be punished, that honesty is dangerous." Darnell's jaw clenched. "How do I fix that?" he asked. The therapist's answer was simple and hard. "Consistency," she said, "and patience. You can't argue a child out of fear. You show them safety until their nervous system believes it." So Darnell showed up. He did bedtime routines. He made breakfast. He walked Isaiah to school and met Ms. Rowe, the counselor whose emails had helped save the case. Ms. Rowe looked at Darnell with a careful softness. "I'm glad he has you," she said quietly. Darnell nodded, throat tight, because for 2 years he'd been treated like he didn't exist. Now he was standing in a school hallway holding his son's backpack, listening to a child laugh. Normal, finally. Melissa didn't go to jail that day. Family court often uses suspended sanctions. One more violation and consequences become immediate. But the contempt finding changed everything. Now Melissa's actions had a label, not miscommunication, not co-parenting conflict, contempt, interference, manipulation, the court appointed a parenting coordinator, ordered supervised visitation, ordered therapy, and warned Melissa, in plain language, that further obstruction would trigger harsher penalties. Melissa tried to rewrite the story again. She told friends Darnell turned the court against her. She claimed racism. She claimed bias. Sometimes bias exists. Sometimes courts get it wrong. But in this case, the judge's decision wasn't based on vibes. It was based on timestamps, logs, and recordings that showed a clear pattern of blocking. And that distinction matters, because it protects the child from becoming a symbol in an adult narrative. Isaiah didn't need slogans. He needed honesty and stability. One night, months after the custody flip, Darnell sat on the edge of Isaiah's bed while Isaiah traced circles on a blanket with his finger, sleepy but restless. "Dad?" Isaiah whispered. "Yeah, buddy." Isaiah hesitated. "Are you going to go away again?" he asked. Darnell felt his chest tighten. He didn't blame Isaiah for the question. He blamed every adult who had made that question necessary. Darnell leaned closer, voice steady. "No," he said. "I'm not going away. If anything ever changes, I will tell you. And I will always fight to see you." Isaiah blinked slowly. "Why didn't you come before?" he asked, voice small. Darnell swallowed hard. How do you tell a child the truth without putting adult poison in their mouth? You tell the truth with care. "I tried," Darnell said softly. "A lot, and I kept coming. Sometimes grown-up rules get complicated, but none of it was because I didn't want you." Isaiah stared at him for a long moment. Then he whispered, "Okay." And that okay wasn't full healing, but it was the beginning of trust returning. If you take anything from Darnell's story, let it be this. In custody battles, absence isn't always absence. Sometimes it's obstruction. Sometimes a parent isn't missing because they don't care. Sometimes they're missing because someone is building a wall and calling it protection. And when the parent being blocked is a black father, the wall often gets reinforced by assumption, because the narrative of the missing dad is already waiting in the room. Darnell didn't win because he was lucky. He won because he documented, because he stayed calm when it would have been easy to explode, because he kept showing up even when showing up felt humiliating, because he built an evidence chain so strong the court couldn't look away. So here's a question worth asking. Quietly, honestly, if someone could make you look absent by blocking you, how would you prove you were present? Darnell proved it with timestamps, with receipts, with school emails, with a Bodycam clip of a father standing on a porch saying, "I just want my son." And the court finally did what it should have done sooner. It saw the truth, not the stereotype, not the story, the truth. And that truth gave Isaiah something he hadn't had in a long time. A father who wasn't just loving in private, but recognized in public. On the record, where lies don't get to win.